Hi, this is Neil Matthews from wpdo.com, and in this video post I'd like to show you how to create a multiple language WordPress site using the premium plugin WPML. What I'm going to do in this session is 2 or 3 minutes of presentation to give you an overview of the plugin. Then I'll go to an actual demo of me building and creating a basic multiple language site using WPML. So here's the agenda. We're going to have a quick overview of WPML. We're going to talk about installing and configuring the plugin. Next we'll talk about the language selector. So that's how your site visitor will choose which language they want to view your content in. Translating content, creating multiple menus for languages, translating themes and plugins, and a quick look at the other functions that the plugin can give you, but we won't be covering those in the demo. And lastly, a detailed demonstration of how to set up a multiple language site using WPML. So, quick overview of WPML. It's a premium plugin. You can get it from wpml.org. It costs £29 for the basic version, dollars, sorry, $29 for the premium version and $79 for the full CMS version. What I'm going to be displaying today is the full CMS version, which is the $79 version. It allows you to hold multiple language versions of your content, so all your posts and pages can be held in however many languages you select, and then it's going to be served up to those site visitors based upon a language they select from a language selector. I'll talk about that in a little bit further in the presentation. So you have one site, one set of content, and depending upon your site visitor's preference, that content will be served up to them in their native language, enabling them to understand what you're doing better. So if you're in multiple territories, or if you live in a country where there's multiple language, Canada for example, you could have your content in English, you could also have your content in French, and depending upon the preference of the site visitor, they can see the content in their native language. Install and config. I'm going to do this in a demonstration after this quick presentation, but essentially it's a normal plugin install. You buy your plugin from WPML, download it, install it into WordPress. Then you go through a configuration process. You set the languages you want. You set how you want your permalinks to be. Then you go off and you translate your content, add multiple menus, add a language selector, and in a nutshell, that will bring you a site which can serve multiple languages. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but in a nutshell, that is it. So the language selector, you can add a language selector to your site, which will be a drop down with the various languages and flags that are available to your site visitors. You can have this as a menu item, you can have this as a sidebar widget, or you can code it up to go anywhere in your theme if you're used to PHP. So you've added your language selector. The next thing to do is obviously to translate your content. There are tools inside of WPML that allow you to streamline and manage multiple versions of your posts and pages. So you have your post in English, perhaps you want French as well. There'll be a suite of tools where you can click, add, and very easily and smoothly manage multiple languages and multiple versions of your content. There are also contents to help you translate your content, if that makes sense. So if you understand multiple languages, you can translate it yourself, or WPML also has the ability to outsource your translation needs. So they have another company called iCanLocalize, where you can get your content, send it out to their translation queues, and have it automatically translated for you at a cost, obviously, but that's a very effective and slick way to get your content translated if you don't have the in-house skills. I'll take you through that in the demonstration. Menus, of course you need different menus for different languages. WPML allows you to hold multiple versions of your menu for each language, and it has tools to keep them in sync and to point the appropriate links or pages. I'll take you through building those menus in the demo. Translating themes and plugins. Obviously WPML manages the translation of your content, But another key area is the strings inside of your themes and your plugins. What do I mean by that? So imagine you've got a sidebar widget from a plugin and it has a title. Is that title translatable? So WPML has something called the string translation function. It goes off and it checks all of your themes and your plugins, and it enables you to translate those strings if they are coded correctly. Sometimes themes and plugins aren't coded correctly for translation, and you'll have to manually go in and recode your theme and plugins. I'll not cover this in the demo. You need an understanding of PHP to do this, and if you do need help doing that type of thing, we are available to hire to do that. WPML also comes with a sidebar text widget that enables you to hold or to create text widgets in your sidebar and then have multiple languages or assign languages to them. We'll also look at something called widget logic, which is another way to display a widget in your sidebars based upon language. It's probably easier if we wait till the demo, and I'll show you that then. Some other functions of WPML which we're not really going to touch on today. You can translate media. So if you have an image, for example, which has some English text on it, you could create that same image and put French text on it and hold a translation of your media. You can translate custom post types. These are incredibly powerful ways that allow you to create content for themes or for plugins, and you find they're often used. WPML will translate your custom post types. You can also obviously translate categories and tags and many other things. It's a very, very powerful plugin, lots of functionality, but I don't want to overwhelm you with too much, so I won't touch those in the demo. Let's move on to the demo now. I'm going to install and configure the plugin, or plugins rather. I'm going to translate some posts and pages. I'm going to add multiple menus. I'm going to add a language selector. I'm going to translate some strings from some plugins. And lastly, I'm going to work on the sidebar and make that multi-language ready. Let's jump over to my development site now. So here we are at my development site. As you can see, it's fairly simple. We have a home page, about page, contact page, and a blog page. So we've got 2 or 3 blog posts and some information in the sidebar. So let's go about installing and configuring WPML. We've got plugins, install plugins, add new, and then upload the various plugins that you can download once you buy WPML. So we've got multilingual CMS, which enables us to control our content. I've also got the string translation plugin that enables us to manage plugins and themes and to display information correctly. Okay, so obviously there's an update available there. We'll do that later. Let's go through setting up languages. So it's the first time this has been run, so it's going to take us through a wizard. So we've got our base language, which is going to be English, and we'll install French as well, I think. As you can see, there are dozens and dozens of different languages. So not just Latin type languages, we can have things like Chinese, simplified Chinese, and other sort of dual character type languages. Then we can select our language switcher. We can put it in the sidebar, or we can put it in the menu. We'll come back and do that a little bit later. And that is a basic install of WPML. Now if we go to our pages, you can see that we've now got this little plus button. So that allows us to add a translation of various pages. So if we have multiple languages, there will be multiple flags to show those. Also, if we edit the home page, for example, we also have a suite of tools over here where we can do some translation. So for example, let's duplicate the French homepage. So what that does, it creates a new version of that page in French. Let me just double check that. Yeah, so we can edit the French version there. So it's duplicated the French version and copied over all the English content. Let me show you a very useful little tool, and it's translate.google.com. What you can do is you can put in English text and it'll throw out a translation over here of French. It's not always 100% accurate, but it's a useful tool to use to translate some of your text. So update that, and then we have a published French version of that page. So you can see we've got the home page translated there. We've got a little edit button. These are outstanding and remaining to be edited. Let's just change the title. My French is a little rusty, so if anything is incorrect, please don't complain. Right, I'm just going to quickly go through all those other pages and create translations of them. Not the most interesting thing, so I'll cut here and come back once that's done. Okay, so I've gone through all those pages and I've translated them. See up here we've got a suite of tools up here that gives us an idea of what's been translated. So 4 English pages, 4 French pages, and you can see I've also got to the posts and done the same thing, but you'll notice I haven't translated number 3. We'll come to that in a moment and I'll explain why. So we have 2 translated posts. Now our content is translated. Now what we want to do is set up a language selector. Let's go back to WPML and languages. So language switcher options, we can put it in the sidebar. We can put it in add flags if we want to. We can put it in the footer. Let's show it everywhere we can. So it'll give you this display in the footer. And we can also have a little link inside individual posts. Let's have that as well. Now if we go to the front end of the site and do a refresh, you'll see we have a little language selector here where we can select the language we want to use. There it is in the footer as well. If we open up a blog post, let's open Lorem 2. At the bottom now, this post is also available in French. This is all automatically done once you translate your content. If we look at menus as well, we can also add them into our menus. We're going to look at menus in more depth in a few moments time, so we'll do that then. So we're on the home page, keep an eye on that string there. Let's flip it to French. Translate to French, there we go. It automatically displays our content in French. Some things have automatically been translated inside this theme. So categories, the unclassified category has been translated, so it's automatically pulled it back in French. So it realizes it's in French and it pulls it back. This post is also available in Anglais, and that switches back to English. Let's do that on a blog post. Perhaps we're in Lorem 2. We decide we want to switch to French. It'll realize, if you look at the URL, it'll realize we're still in Lorem 3. And it pulls back the French version. I haven't translated the text, I've just changed the title and put an FR on the end, so we know we've got translated text. So you've probably noticed the menu hasn't changed, so we need to set up some French menus. Let's go and do that now. So the appearance menus. as you can see, we've got one menu set up at the minute. It's called main menu. It's language set to English. What we can do is we can add a French translation of that. So click on French. Set the translation of main menu. Call this main menu FR. And create the menu. This brings back the French translation pages only. So whatever we set here will be in French. So let's just make this a bit more obvious that it is the French translation. Put an FR on the end. Change that contacteur. Change home to Actuel. And save that menu. Again, apologies if my French is incorrect. It's been a long time since I studied French at school. Got the home page. Make sure we save that menu. Home page, we're in English. Switch to French. Let's see. Links are changed automatically for us by WPL. So if you go to the Sur or About page in French, that gives us the French About page. If we flip back to English, that gives us the English About page. Okay, let's do some string translation now. So for example, we've got this little search box up here. Perhaps we want to change that to the French version of search, which is, again using my translation tool, Rechercher. Let's go to WPML and theme and then the string translation. So what this does is goes off and checks all of your strings that are appearing in your theme and then your plugin. You can get the contexts. So we've got widgets and themes, that kind of thing. Oh, let's search for something. So for example, search for search. There we have it. We've got a little search widget there. We can set the translation. And we can slowly but surely go through all the strings in our themes and in our plugins and create translations for them. What I recommend is you click on this auto register strings always, and what that does is it'll go through and test for strings that can be translated in your themes and in your plugins. I'm not 100% sure I've done the correct string, but let's give it a test. Let's go to our French. No, I've got the wrong string. I think it was looking for the sidebar search. Yeah, so it's done the sidebar search there. But you get the idea. Anything that's used in your theme or in your plugins and is coded correctly will appear in that string translation. If they're not coded correctly, they can be recoded. It's not that much of an issue, but an understanding of PHP and the way WPML works with string translation is required. Okay, next up, let's look at our widgets, our sidebars. We have something called a multi-language text. So let's just drop something in underneath there. So this is our test text string. This is English widget. Set the language to be English. go back to my translator again. Let's get down to French. Save that. So what I've done, I've set up 2 text strings, and it will only appear based upon the language. So if we go back to blog, we're currently set to French. So there's our indicator there. There's our French test string. Flip to English. This is the English text widget. So that's great for text strings that you want to set up, but perhaps you've got a plugin. So for example, recent posts. If you install a plugin called Widget Logic, so it's plugin, add new, Widget Logic, install that. You can add, so once Widget Logic is installed, we can go to Appearance and then Widgets, and we can add a custom widget rather than just a text widget, depending on language. It's not the greatest example. I haven't got any custom plugins installed, so let's just select a normal text widget and say English only. And down here under Widget Logic, we can set, I see a language code equals whatever. So in this case, EN for English. Click on Save. What that means is only display this widget if the language is English. So we'll go back here, click on Refresh. We don't see it because we're set to French. Swap to English. There's our English only widget. Something else I want to show you, if we go to blog and look at the English, we've got 3 blog posts, Lorem 3, 2 and 1. You'll remember I didn't translate the 3rd post. The reason for that was to show you that if content doesn't exist for the language, nothing is displayed. So we've only got 2 French blog posts. So it's clever enough to know that the content has been translated, so it won't bring back a version of the English blog post that we don't need. Last thing I want to show you before we wrap up is the translation service that WPML also offers you. So WPML Translation Management. This is where you can outsource the translation of content to this company here, iCanLocalize. Essentially, you select your blog posts or pages. In this case, I've already got 1 outstanding, Lorem 3. You can set translations and it'll give you a rough estimate how much that will cost to translate. So you can have your existing translators, you can add translators, so you can have iCanLocalize, that kind of thing. So essentially you'd hire translators from inside the plugin, send out jobs, and watch as your jobs are managed here, when they're completed and who's done it. And you get notifications when it's all done. So if you don't have the in-house team to translate your content, you can always consider using the iCanLocalize people. It costs, of course. I think if you go into the post, it does give you yeah, so rough translation, $20 to get this particular post translated. Let's go back to the presentation now. If you need further help installing, configuring and building a multi-language WordPress site, please do contact me. I can help install and configure and recode any themes and plugins that you need help with. Please contact me for no obligation quote. Just to let you know, I'm an approved contractor of WPML, so if you check out that link, wpml.org, documentation support, WPML contractors, that link will be below this video. You can see that I am approved by them and I also have a portfolio of sites if you want to review the multi-language work I've done. It's been Neil Matthews from WPD.com. You should see a link up here very soon to check out and get a copy of WPML. Thanks very much. Bye for now.